You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. Word count target 482, 450 to 500. I woke up to cold sheets. Julia was already downstairs, the faint smell of coffee drifting up the stairs. I padded down barefoot, still groggy, and found her at the kitchen table. She wasn't scrolling her phone like usual. She was just staring into her mug, face flat, shoulders tight. "We need to talk," she said without looking up. No warmth in her voice, no hesitation. Just a line drawn in the sand. My gut nodded. "Okay, talk about what?" She finally met my eyes, and I swear it was like she'd already left. "I'm moving out, Aiden." The words hit harder than if she'd thrown the mug at me. "What? Why? We didn't even—" "It's not about a fight," she cut in. "It's about years. Years of me sitting through dinners where your university friends made me the punchline. Years of being too ordinary for you, apparently. Years of you not saying a damn word when they tore me down in front of you." I gripped the back of a chair, fighting the urge to yell. "Julia, come on. That's not fair." Her laugh was dry. "Not fair? You think I haven't told you this before? I've begged you to have my back, Aiden. You'd pat my hand, say they didn't mean it, and then buy them the next round. That's not what I— Yes, it is. I'm exhausted, resentful, and I'm done pretending I'm still here in any way that matters." I stepped closer, heart pounding. "I can fix this. Just give me a chance." She shook her head slowly. "You had years of chances. I'm staying with Grace for a while." The name landed like a rock in my chest. "Grace, as in your colleague?" Her eyes narrowed. "Yes, and before you start, no, nothing's happened. Not yet. But she makes me feel seen in ways you never did." I hated how much that stung. "Julia, please, we can—" "I'm not here to negotiate," she said, standing up. "I'm telling you where things are." Her voice stayed calm, but her hands trembled as she set her mug in the sink. Then she walked past me toward the stairs, leaving the faint scent of her perfume in the air, and a silence so sharp I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. I just stood there, gripping the chair, feeling the floor tilt under me. Years together, and she could deliver the death sentence over morning coffee like it was a weather report. Upstairs, a suitcase zipper rasped open, and I realized she wasn't bluffing. I followed her up the stairs before my brain even caught up. Each step felt heavier, like my body was trying to hold me back. In the bedroom, the suitcase was already on the bed, half open, clothes stacked in quick, careless folds. Julia's back was to me, shoulders tight, hair pulled into the messy bun she wore when she didn't care how she looked. "Julia, wait," I said. My voice came out rough. "You can't just walk out like this." She didn't turn around. "Aiden, I told you downstairs. It's too late." "No, it's not," I said, moving closer. "We've had bad moments before. We work through them. We can work through this." She zipped up one side of the suitcase without looking at me. "You keep calling it a moment. I've been asking for years. Years, Aiden. And you always acted like I was making a big deal out of nothing." "That's not—" "It is!" she snapped, finally turning toward me. Her eyes were glassy, but her jaw was set. "You minimized everything, every insult they threw at me. Every time I told you I felt small next to your friends, you told me to let it go. I begged you to stand up for me, and you stayed quiet." I took a breath, feeling my chest tighten. "If this is about Grace—" She dropped a pair of jeans into the suitcase harder than she needed to. "This isn't about Grace. Nothing has happened between us. Yet. And before you twist that, no, I'm not promising nothing will. Because she sees me, Aiden. She listens. You never made space for that." The words stung worse than if she'd confirmed the worst. "I didn't know you felt that far gone. That's the problem. You never knew. You didn't want to know." She closed the suitcase and yanked the zipper all the way around. I stepped closer, putting my hand on the edge of the bed. "I know now. I can do better. I want to do better. Just don't go to her. Stay here, and we'll figure this out." She stared at me for a long second, and I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd put the bag down. Then she shook her head, picked up the suitcase, and walked past me. I followed her to the doorway, my voice catching. "Julia!" She stopped, one hand on the railing. "Goodbye, Aiden." The sound of her footsteps on the stairs faded, then the front door clicked shut. I stood there in the empty bedroom, her scent still hanging in the air, my hands useless at my sides, with nothing left but the silence pressing in on me. I was still standing in the doorway of our bedroom, trying to wrap my head around the silence, when the front door opened again. For a split second, my chest lifted. Then I heard his voice. "Knock, knock," Damien called out, like it was his house. I stepped onto the landing as he walked in without looking up, already scanning the place. He wore that smug grin he probably practiced in the mirror. "Well," he said, glancing around. "Place is finally quiet. About time." I gripped the railing. "What are you doing here?" "Just checking on my little brother," he said, toeing off his shoes. "Heard from Mom that Julia's gone. Figured you could use some company." I came down the stairs slowly. "You figured wrong." He chuckled like I'd told a joke. "Oh, come on, Aiden. You can admit it. She was never a fit for this world. All those dinners where she sat there looking like she wanted to be anywhere else. Painful." My jaw tightened. "Those dinners were painful for her because of people like you." Damien waved it off. "Relax. I'm saying you can breathe now. No more walking on eggshells because she didn't get the banter." He even made air quotes. "She got it fine," I said. "She just knew when it crossed the line." He smirked. "You always were too sensitive about her. Truth is, you dodged a bullet. Now you can get someone who fits." That word, fits, lit something in me I didn't know I had left today. "Say that again." He tilted his head, clearly enjoying himself. "What, that she didn't fit? She didn't. And deep down, you know it." I stepped closer. "You think insulting her in my house is going to make me feel better?" "It's not an insult if it's true," he said, shrugging. "You're better off." I didn't even think about it. I just opened the door. "Get out." His smile slipped. "What?" "You heard me. Outside. Now." He laughed, but it was shaky. "Aiden, don't be dramatic." "Out," I said again, my voice hard enough to cut through his fake calm. For the first time, Damien looked unsure. He grabbed his shoes, muttering something under his breath, and stepped outside. I shut the door before he could finish. The quiet that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. And for once I knew exactly who I was angry at. And it wasn't Julia. The click of the latch still echoed in my head. I stayed by the door for a while, listening to the dead quiet. No footsteps, no voices. Just my own breathing, too loud in the emptiness. I drifted through the house without really deciding to. Her scarf was still draped over the back of the couch, one end trailing on the floor. The coffee table held a stack of political memoirs, half with bookmarks sticking out. She never read just one at a time, always had 2 or 3 going, bouncing between them like conversations. In the corner by the window, her easel leaned against the wall, brushes in a jar, dried paint crusted on the handles, a smear of cobalt blue on the edge of the palette. She'd been working on something, probably one of those moody skylines she liked, but the canvas was gone. I opened the hallway closet without thinking. Her travel bag wasn't there, but the shelf still had the shoebox labeled tickets. Train stubs from Paris, the ferry pass from Santorini, even the crumpled receipt from a street vendor in Cape Town who'd sold us pineapple slices in a paper cone. I carried the box to the dining table and set it down, careful not to spill anything. Underneath the tickets was the photo album she'd made for my birthday a few years back. Black leather cover, silver ink captions in her handwriting, us in Patagonia, bundled in coats with the wind whipping our hair, us in Morocco, leaning against a tile wall, her smile wide enough to blind me. Every page had something written under it, little notes about what we ate, the jokes we told, the things we swore we'd never forget. Halfway through, the captions got shorter. By the last few pages, they were just dates and locations. No inside jokes. No remember when. I pushed the album aside and went into my office. Her desk was still neat, a habit she kept even when she was furious with me. I pulled open the top drawer and found her notebook right on top. No lock, no hesitation. The first entry I read was from a fundraiser 2 years ago. He told me I looked beautiful tonight. Then he left me alone with them. Smiles like knives. Every story a reminder. I'm not part of their world. Another one, from a dinner party last fall. He heard them call me boring. I watched him hear it. He laughed along, page after page. Her words were steady, not dramatic. Just final. The last entry stopped me cold. If he won't fight for me, I have to fight for myself. I closed the notebook and sat back. The house felt smaller somehow, like the walls had moved in. Everything she'd left behind was proof she'd been here, proof she'd been trying to tell me, and proof I'd been too damn comfortable to listen. I sat there with her notebook on my lap until my hands went numb. Every sentence was a hit I'd earned and ignored. By the time I set it down, my fingers were already reaching for my phone. It rang twice before she picked up. Aiden. Her voice was wary, clipped. I read it, I said. The journal. All of it. A pause. That wasn't for you. I know, but I had to. I needed to hear it straight from you, and that's the closest I'll ever get now. Another silence. I could hear faint traffic on her end, the rush of a car passing. I'm sorry, I said, and it came out harder than I meant. Not just for this morning, for every dinner, every party, every time I watched you get cut down and told myself it was harmless. I left you standing alone in rooms I should have been fighting for you in. I didn't just fail you, I made it impossible for you to trust me. She exhaled slowly. Words are cheap, Aiden. I've had years of your promises. I'm not promising, I said. I'm admitting I was wrong. I'm telling you I see it now, all of it. I see how you were shrinking next to me while I pretended nothing was happening, and I hate the man I've been to you. Her tone softened, but just barely. You've said some version of that before, then nothing changes. This time, I don't care if you believe me yet, I said. I just need you to know I'm done protecting my pride instead of you. You deserve someone who'd stand in front of you, not behind everyone else. I want to be that man. On the other end, I heard fabric rustle, like she was shifting the phone from one ear to the other. There's nothing going on with Grace, she said. But she listens. She makes me feel like I matter, and I don't know if I can go back to feeling invisible again. I don't want you invisible, I said quickly. I want you seen, by me, first. And if you gave me one more chance, just one, I'd spend every day proving it. She didn't say anything for a long moment. I thought maybe she'd hung up. Finally, she said, I'm not saying yes. I swallowed. Okay, but I'm not saying no either. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. That's enough for me right now. She didn't answer, just let the line go quiet until I heard the faintest click, and she was gone. The next morning, I made the call. Found a therapist who didn't waste time asking if I was ready to open up. She just said, show up, and we'll deal with the rest. Week after week, I sat in that small office with its too soft chair and no place to hide. I talked about Julia, about the dinners, about the way I let other people dictate the tone of my marriage because it was easier than confrontation. I heard myself admit things I'd never said out loud, how I'd wanted her to toughen up instead of stepping in, how I'd convinced myself my silence was neutrality when it was really betrayal. She didn't let me off the hook. Every time I tried to slide past something ugly, she'd stop me. That's not an explanation. That's an excuse. I hated hearing it. But I needed it. I joined a men's group she recommended, 6 guys, all of us with stories about screwing up and trying to fix what we'd broken. They didn't pat me on the back. They asked the questions I'd been avoiding. Why was her pain less important than keeping your friends comfortable? I didn't have a clean answer. Still don't. At night, I started pulling out the letters Julia had written me over the years, the ones I'd tossed into drawers without reading twice. I read everyone. Then I wrote back, longhand, no revisions. Just the truth I should have said then. I mailed one every week. It was about a month in when she texted, dinner, just dinner. We met at a quiet Italian place she liked. When she walked in, she looked exactly the same and nothing like the woman who left. More guarded. Like she'd built walls even around the way she held her glass. Thanks for coming, I said when she sat. She gave a small nod. I've been getting your letters. They're late, I admitted. Years late. I know. She sipped her water, eyes on mine. That's why I'm here. I wanted to see if the person writing them is the same person sitting across from me now. I didn't look away. I'm trying to be. The conversation was awkward, pauses too long, sentences cut short. But there was no venom. No cheap shots. We talked about small things at first. Her work, my last trip for a shoot. Then about bigger ones. I told her about therapy, the men's group, the questions I couldn't answer yet. She listened without interrupting, but I could see the skepticism in her eyes, and I didn't blame her. When the check came, she set her hand on it before I could reach for it. I'm not promising anything, she said. I know, I told her, but you're here. That's enough for tonight. She let the silence hang for a beat, then nodded. And for the first time in a long time, we walked out of a place together, side by side. The gala was wall-to-wall, polished smiles, and overpriced champagne. I hadn't been to one since Julia left, but this invite had come months ago, back when I still thought showing up to these things mattered. Tonight, I came alone. I was halfway through scanning the auction tables when I heard the voice. Well, Aiden Morgan, still flying solo, I see. Eric, same tailored suit style he'd worn since our 20s. Same smirk that always looked aimed at someone's dignity. Evening, I said, keeping my tone flat. He sipped his drink, eyes flicking over the room before landing back on me. Heard Julia's doing well. Big moves on TV. Ambition really suits her, almost outpaces her looks these days, but hey, we can't all age like fine wine. The laugh that came out of him was just loud enough for the group nearby to hear. A few smirks flashed in response. Something in me went still. You know, Eric, I've let you slide with crap like that for years. Not tonight. He blinked. It's just a joke. Number? It's you being a smug, entitled jackass who spent his life treating women like accessories. And for the record, Julia's ambition never needed to suit her looks. She's sharp enough to make every man in this room look slow. The smirks around us faltered. Someone coughed. Eric's jaw tightened. You're overreacting. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally reacting the way I should have years ago. The old boy's banter isn't clever. It's pathetic. And if you think that garbage passes for charm, it's no wonder you're on your third divorce. He opened his mouth, but I was already walking away. I didn't wait for his reply. I'd said what needed saying, and for once, I hadn't said it too late. In the cab home, I pulled out my phone and typed, I finally said what I should have said years ago. I'll keep saying it. I hit send before I could overthink it. It was a Saturday afternoon when I heard the knock. No text first, no call. Just 3 firm raps on the front door. Julia stood there, hair loose, jacket unzipped, like she'd walked out without thinking. Her eyes were steady, but her hands were shoved deep into her pockets. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She didn't move past the entryway, just looked at me for a beat before saying, Grace kissed me. I froze. And I didn't pull away. Not right away. She glanced down at the floorboards. But it didn't feel right. At all. I leaned against the wall. Why are you telling me this? Because if I'm going to be honest about where I'm at, this is part of it. She finally stepped past me and went straight to the porch like she needed open air. I followed. We sat, me in the chair I'd always used, her in the one she used to claim before she left. The gap between us felt bigger than the railing in front of us. No accusations, she said. I don't want to rehash every fight. I need to tell the truth. Then tell it, I said. She took a breath. I miss what I thought we could be, but I'm scared. Not of you failing again, but of me hoping you won't. Hope is dangerous when you've been wrong this many times. I let the words sit. If there's even a sliver of a way back, I want it, but I won't rush you. I'll rebuild everything if I have to, brick by brick. Her eyes met mine for the first time since she walked in. 1 brick, she said. Let's start with 1. I nodded. Name it. She thought for a moment. Come with me to the community forum next week. Sit with me, even if the room's stacked with people who'd rather you weren't there. Say nothing unless it matters, but be there. I'll be there, I said without hesitation. We sat in the quiet for a while after that. The air was cool, and the boards under our feet creaked when we shifted. She didn't promise anything else. I didn't ask. 1 brick. It was enough to start. Couples therapy wasn't a warm welcome. It was 2 chairs, a couch, and a woman with a legal pad asking questions that left no room to hide. Julia sat angled slightly away from me the first few sessions, arms crossed, voice calm but guarded. When the therapist asked why we were there, she said, not to fix what we had. That's gone. If we keep going, it has to be something new. I agreed. This time, agreeing didn't feel like surrender. It felt like truth. One of the first things we tackled was boundaries, real ones. Julia laid it out. No more showing up to events where my family or friends could take shots at her without consequences. No more laughing things off. I told her I was done making space for people who thrived on disrespect. I proved it 2 weeks later when my brother Damien sent a group text about a boys' weekend. I replied, if Julia's not welcome, I'm not coming. And if she's disrespected again, I'm done. He didn't answer. I didn't chase him, Julia noticed. We started spending time outside therapy in her world instead of mine. I helped with her community outreach project, a food distribution program in the East Side neighborhood where she'd been volunteering for years. I wasn't there for the photo op. I loaded boxes, sorted donations, carried groceries to people's cars. One afternoon, after we finished a long shift, she said, "I didn't think you'd last the whole day. I didn't think I'd like it this much," I admitted. "Feels good to do something that's not about me." Slowly, laughter started sneaking back in. Not the forced kind we used at parties, but the quiet, genuine kind. Like when I accidentally dropped a bag of rice that exploded across the pantry floor, and she couldn't stop laughing long enough to help clean it up. We still argued. Still had days when her trust slipped and my patience wore thin. But now, neither of us walked away from those moments. We stayed in the room. It wasn't the old us. It wasn't supposed to be. It was better because every step forward, we'd built together. The light was barely breaking when I woke. Julia was still asleep, her hair spilling across the pillow, one hand curled near her face. For a moment, I just stayed there, remembering the morning she left, how the bed felt colder than the air, how every sound in the house felt like a countdown. I slid out quietly and went to the kitchen. Put water on for tea, cracked eggs into a pan. The smell filled the space, soft but steady, like it belonged there. By the time she walked in, the sunroom table was set, 2 mugs of tea, toast, and the omelet I'd kept warm under a plate. She stopped in the doorway. "What's this?" "Breakfast," I said. "Figured we'd start the day together." She stepped closer, still half cautious, half curious. "You're up early." "Yeah." I poured her tea, pushed it toward her. "Some things are worth getting up for." She sat, wrapping her hands around the mug. There was no tension in her shoulders like before, just a quiet calm. "Thank you," she said, then added, "Not just for breakfast." I met her eyes. "For what then?" "For becoming someone who stands beside me, not behind other people, not on the sidelines." I nodded, no joke in my tone. "I'll never stop choosing you, even when it's hard. Especially then." Her mouth curved into the kind of smile I hadn't seen in years, small, real, unforced. We ate while the morning sun poured in, warming the table, the walls, and the space between us. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours.